Okay, everybody, good evening. Seeing as it is 6 o'clock, we'll call the meeting to order. The regular council meeting for the town of Didsbury for Tuesday, February 24th, and like I said, at 6 p.m. First item on the agenda is the adoption of the agenda, but we do have some minor changes I just want to make sure everybody's aware of. So we will be amending the agenda to add 12.4 will now become item 12.5. And we're adding 12.4, which is draft bylaw, and then 12.6, which is called event planning. That's to the closed session of the meeting. Everyone's good? Yeah, if I could get a motion, please.
I move that council adopt the agenda as amended.
Excellent. All in favor? Opposed? Motion is carried. Okay, the second item, I guess it's item number 3, pardon me, is delegations and presentations. Item 3.1 is Olds College. Would you like to come on up and join us? Good evening to you both and welcome.
Well, good evening, everyone, and it's truly an honor to be here in front of town council to bring a little bit of information on Olds College and our strategic plan and the various items that will go along with this reporting process. I guess I'll start by introducing myself. I know we did a walk around, but for those who don't know me, and I know some of you in the room for 50 years, 45 years, and some of you for 20 years. But my background is I lived just outside of Olds, and we farmed in that area for many, many years. Got elected to Mountain View County Council in 2004 and was Reeve for the first 6 years I was on council, and then councillor for 17 years. And in that time, I was also on the board of RMA and board chair for 6 years there too, and retired from municipal government in 2020 in the election year then. And since then I've taken on a few part-time roles. I am board chair at Olds College, and I'm just finishing my first year as board chair, but my third year as a board member. Looking for reappointment here in the next little while, hopefully. Permission of the ministry, of course, and cabinet and all the processes that way. I also am an advisor with Alberta Council, and so you guys will have seen Alberta Council through your travels in the municipal world, and we often host events at the AB Munis or at the RMA conferences, but we are a legal and lobby firm, and the only legal and lobby firm in the province. And then I sit on the Land and Property Rights Tribunal as a panel member, so I deal with municipal approvals that cannot be appealed at the local level but need to be appealed at the provincial level. So those are a few of the things I do in my retirement years, and I'm enjoying my life very much that way. So I'll let Debbie introduce herself.
It's a handful for that.
Right. Well, good evening, everybody, and thank you again for the opportunity to come and share a little bit about Olds College. So my name is Debbie Thompson, and I've been with the college for just over 12 years in a variety of capacities. The first 2.5 decades or so of my professional career is in the K-12 world. So I was a school principal before I came to the college, and my husband and I have lived in Olds for about 26 years and raised our 3 children, and who are all adults now, or so they tell us. And so it is a pleasure to serve the college in the capacity as president and CEO. It's a pretty fantastic place, and we certainly appreciate our partnerships in our community. And I don't recall having come to the town and had an opportunity to share a little bit about the college in this capacity. And so we just really appreciate the opportunity tonight to be here and spend a little bit of time with you.
Well, and again, thank you for being here. And I know Michael and I have talked over the years about a lot of the stuff that's going on at Olds College, and we'll touch on some of that in a little bit. But Olds College is pretty well your neighbor. You know, we farm. We have the farm in the college campus right at Olds, but we also have land that we're farming just west of town here too, as part of our applied research process. So it shows how close to neighbors we really are, and I can't believe that this is not a regular thing where it should be predictable that we would come and bring an update from Olds College every once in a while. But you'll see in the strat plan part of the rationale for us being here too. So, but you will see the plan that we've shared with you, and Debbie will talk a little bit more on. But we're trying to make sure that we get a plan that will give us a roadmap going forward. Every one of us should have a strategic plan at some level, and this is the one that we developed. It kicked in the summer of 2025, and it's a 3-year plan with the opportunities in the future to amend or write a new plan, depends on how this one works. But it's our path to the future, and it's going to identify what matters most to Olds College. And we have 3 priorities that Debbie will go through in more detail, but it's being, a teacher and a leader in agriculture, making sure we look after our students and our staff, and engage with the communities, and be community minded as much as anything. So that's going to be part of the process. We did an extensive engagement with this, where we engaged with all the people within the college, as far as the faculty, the staff, the students, and the board, and then along with, we reached out into the community, and we met with Mountain View County numerous times, and we met with the town of Olds, and we met with a lot of the service groups in Olds, because they are all so important to our community at Olds College, and Olds College is so important to the community of Olds. And so we have this plan now. It has our vision to advance agriculture, trying to make the world a better place. And we believe, because of our nuances, that's what we can do. And then we want to develop the next generation of leaders in agriculture, both from a technical point of view, but also from a practical point of view. And that's what this plan does. So I'll turn it over to Debbie, and I'll let her get into a little bit more detail on the plan, and she'll also give you an update on some of the recent things at the college that is good information to know.
Great, thanks, Al. So as Al mentioned, our new strategic plan, Deep Roots, Bold Futures, identifies 3 main priorities. The first focuses on purposeful leadership in agriculture education. We heard loud and clear, both internally and externally, that maybe over the last few years we'd lost our way. And so you'll see a deep commitment to agriculture and leadership and education within. Certainly supporting our students and our people, and strengthening our partnerships across the board. So those are our 3 priorities. And then as you dig deeper, you'll see some strategies that go along with those. We only opted for a 3-year plan. It felt almost like a bit of a rebuild, and so that's why we opted for 3 instead of what you might traditionally see as 5 or even 10 years and in some organizations. And so we think this will help stabilize the college. Really, it's a return to our roots in agriculture, and you'll see that theme throughout, reaffirming our identity and our purpose towards innovation, agriculture, and leadership. We know that our faculty, our students, and our partners play a huge role in bringing the plan to life, and we are focused on collaboration and innovation and alignment. And so together we look to build a more unified Olds College. As Al mentioned, we thought that you might appreciate a few updates specific to the college. So in the spring of 25, so almost a year ago now, we broke ground on a $70 million W.J. Elliott Trades building expansion and renovation. We are expecting completion of that project in the spring of 2027, and we're thrilled to say that as of now we're on time and on budget, which is always good for major projects. $63 million came from the government of Alberta for capital funding, and then $7 million is part of our capital campaign that we are currently in the middle of. So maybe I'll share right now, just as it relates to the trades building, we We've expanded some of our welding seats and opportunities, but with the new trades expansion, we're working with Alberta Apprenticeship right now, exploring the opportunity to expand out and offer 3 new apprenticeship programs at the college. And so we work closely with them. It is up to them whether or not we're able to, but right now the plans are for electrician first, steam fitter, pipe fitter, and then plumbing after. And so those are some future opportunities. We're in the middle of the advocacy work for electrician. We're hopeful that we'll get approval for that and be able to offer that as soon as we get the construction project done. So at post-secondary is a little bit of information, but it'll make sense in a minute. We measure the number of students we have by what's called full load equivalent learners, or FLEs. And so essentially what that means is the number of students that are compiled to take a full program. So if it's 1 FLE, it means it's the equivalent of 30 credits. And so in 24-25, we actually had our largest number of FLEs that the college has ever seen in our history. So we finished the year with 2,124 full load equivalent learners, which equates to about 3,500 students. And in 25-26, we'll see between 1,850 and 1,900. So you can see that there's a fairly significant decrease. So we're seeing about a 5% increase in our domestic students. So those students that come from, or Canadian citizens, or make up our domestic students. And we're seeing about an 85% decrease in our international learners. And that's a direct result of some federal changes to policy around immigration and postgraduate work permits that you may have heard about. There was a flooding of the news about a year ago around that. So I share that as just the impact that the college has seen. And that primarily impacted our hospitality and tourism program. So we suspended intake in that program as students were no longer eligible for postgraduate work permits, and that was mostly international students, some of our business cohorts as well. And then most recently, you may have noticed in the news our craft beverage and brewery operations program as well. We had a wonderful, about a decade after we opened that program, of interest both from industry and students. And then we've seen a shift in that industry, and that's shifted the number of domestic students who are interested. So that's a little bit about from a student perspective. From a program perspective, we're seeing growth in our animal health programs. We did a renovation to our animal health education center, which allowed us to expand seats in our vet technologists. So I typically equate that position, a nurse to a doctor, a vet technologist to a veterinarian. We've also expanded our welding facilities. We did a $4.1 million renovation and added additional seats to students. We redeveloped programming in our new environmental science and technology program. Land and water would have been the program that some of you may have been familiar with from years past. And then once again, just the expansion of hopefully new apprenticeship programming and trades. I also thought you might be interested. Last year, we trained just over 1,000 dual credit students. So that means that students receive high school credits at the same time that they receive college credits. And we're on track to match or exceed this for 25-26. We have partnerships with 64 school authorities across Alberta and strong representation from Chinook's Edge and other surrounding schools here. So we're thrilled to be able to welcome dual credit students into our programs. Our student residence housing is typically a conversation. So we have 625 spots in our student residence, and we currently have a small wait list that fluctuates around 50 students. We host a number of visitors and tours to the campus each year. Last year, as an example, we hosted the Inter-American Institute for Cooperation in Agriculture, which brings people to our area. So we had 200 on-campus participants, 800 online from 34 countries. We welcomed a number of ag secretariats. From an applied research perspective, we put a stake in the ground for the Olds College Smart Farm in 2018 and started with about 110 acres. The Smart Farm has expanded to 3,300 acres that we have access to, and we've worked with about 486 to 500 companies on the Smart Farm and remain in the top 20 colleges and research institutes in Canada, which we're proud of that. We host about 70 tours a year and welcome about 1,200 guests to the Smart Farm. And I think that takes me to the end of my notes, but hopefully it's just given you a bit of an update on some of the capital projects, some of the academic as well as the applied research and some specifics around the Smart Farm. But we are really very happy to entertain any questions or comments you may have.
Mr. Chair, just before we go to questions, I just wanted to, one of the things when I even got involved in Olds College, I didn't understand what applied research was. You know, I'm a student many years ago at Olds College, but I always want to take this opportunity to identify the difference between foundational research is what happens at the university level, where they actually are creating product and creating those new innovative ideas, where applied research is more building partnerships with industry and helping them prove their product, whether it's good or bad. But they build those partnerships with the college to test their products or test their technologies to see if they're going to work into the marketplace. So I just always want to make sure that we understand the difference between applied research and foundational research. Foundational research typically happens predominantly at the universities. We do have some of that foundational stuff working and going on, but primarily it's applied research. We have about just over 3,000 acres of farm that we do that applied research on, both in the Olds campus here, the land out west of town here, and then we actually have some land in Saskatchewan where we're applying it to the Saskatchewan environment and their land types and stuff like that. So I just wanted to clarify that, just to make a better understanding of applied research.
Can I ask for an example of some of the products that you work with your partners on to test?
One of the examples is the driverless equipment, the autonomous equipment that has been created about 8-9 years ago, and so we actually sold a lot of them, or because I wasn't with the college at the time, but they use that to seed, and it was one unit that you could attach different attachments to it. So you could take it out to seed, and then you would be done. You would take it out for spraying, and it's all done without an operator on it. So that's just one example of some of the work that's been done. Now that technology has been taken and sold to another company, and that company is now incorporating that technology into some of what they do. So, that's one example. And there was a lot of herbicide testing, a lot of compatibility of herbicides and stuff like that, so that and we are in a dark soil zone here. And so what works here certain ways won't work in Saskatchewan the same way. So it's doing an applied piece on our soil types and our weather types that we have here.
Right. So it directly benefits the farmers in Alberta,
Yeah.
and in this region specifically.
We'd love to invite you out if you were ever interested to do a tour.
Yeah.
And so please don't hesitate to reach out. We would welcome you on a tour, and we can show you some of the controlled environment agriculture. We can show you our data layer project that was a number of years and decades worth of data that allows us to go down into the soils. We do some work, our Technology Access Center, with livestock and testing on some feed trials and those sorts of things. And so we'd welcome you if you're ever interested in coming to visit us for a tour.
You bet.
I'm
Very good.
May, April time?
Yes, yes. Spring is nicer for sure. Yes.
Any other questions?
Just a comment, Your Worship. As we get our community consultations done ourselves in the coming month, and we hear about who we have as actors in our region, I would strongly point to Olds College as one of the active players in the region that delivers something that can make a difference for families and kids. Maybe not so much retirees unless there's an angle there, but for the folks who are entering the workforce or well in it and looking to change skill sets, they're a major factor for us, and they're just 10 minutes up the road. In other municipalities, I've done and worked with the chair on things that he alluded to in his presentation about working with school divisions, and I would hope council would be amenable to having me at least bring some of those concepts forward in strat planning, specific to what we did with Olds College and another municipality, wherever. It's not brand new stuff. They've been doing it for a while. We just kind of came to it organically, and I think there could be some tie-ins where the town could find a simple way to offer support to the kids in school, and Olds is the catalyst for that sort of thing with their dual credit program. That's a big one. But there could be all kinds of other stuff. Just, I've seen where at times municipalities don't really play ball with the other partners in the MASH sector in their region, and that sometimes when you have a good, strong relationship like that, really can make a difference in turning the community outcomes around for kids. Like here they're talking about their graduation, grad rates and their grad preparedness. In our case, we're talking about sustainable community growth rate where kids don't move to Edmonton and never come back. And having the ability for kids to get their post-secondary training close to home and stay home is huge. It's a huge factor, in my opinion, that. Notwithstanding that, but as technology becomes more and more important in the delivery of agricultural services, those aren't just rural kid jobs anymore. The townies are taking over. And so that means that a lot of the kids, the stigma really is there without any legitimacy. People just make that generalization, but kids who are curious about agriculture in a town, who have been around it but not lived on the farm, maybe not had the honor of milking a cow at 4 in the morning with frozen hens, or feeding chickens with a chop bucket, they can break their I guess what's the word? Get exposure to it through this way. And I think there's a lot of really valuable conversations to be had. I think tonight was just the beginning, I hope, of a good partnership between the town and the college for the benefit of everyone. And so I will just leave that with you percolating after tonight's presentation, because I'll get into more detail later.
I won't get on my soapbox just yet, but I'm a firm believer that more people need to invest in the trades and in agriculture. I think it's the foundation of our society, and less people need to be pushed into degrees that don't hold a lot of value for them long term. Speaking from someone who hasn't thought about what I learned in a very, very long time, I think, yeah, and is trying to push a very young son into the trades. So, thank you for everything today. I appreciate it.
Yeah, if I can just even touch on the dual credit success. It's been a growing program, but 3 years ago, the Premier of the province made a statement in front of all the post-secondaries about Olds College graduating 2 students that walked across the Olds College stage before they walked across their high school stage. Last year was over 100, and it's growing. So, and you guys are within such reasonable distance. We're getting that many students now that are walking across our stage with their certificate. There are I don't know what, half a dozen certificates that they can get.
So we have three programs that you can get full certificates in, but the most popular, you would have had students from the town of Didsbury who were in this place. So our Vet Tech Assistant is a 5-course certificate program, and it is by far our most popular. So we have a lot of Chinook's Edge school division students, and then we have students from other municipalities across the province. But we it's pretty exciting to shake their hands at the same time as they're receiving their high school diplomas. And so my soapbox about dual credit is, ideally, we would either have students like that receive the full certificate, but at the end of the day, dual credit allows our high school students access to post-secondary in order to try things and in order to see that they can be successful. And whether or not they come back to Olds College to finish, that's the icing on the cake. But for me, it's about giving youth an opportunity to be successful at post-secondary and to see that anybody, post-secondary is for anybody.
Yeah.
And that's what we've been able to do. I think the numbers, we have welcomed 8,000 unique dual credit students to Olds College. We have the largest dual credit program in the province out of all post-secondaries, including universities, and we're incredibly proud of what that opportunity gives to our youth and communities around the province of Alberta.
Let's make it brief. Thank you, Al and Debbie, so much for the presentation. Something else that I think is really wonderful that you're doing, that I was absolutely floored to see when I moved here, was the college in such a local and rural community with access to a lot of these things. And when I went to school 15 years ago, I spent an exorbitant amount of money on student housing because I had to move to a city to go do it. And that was 15 years ago. I can't imagine the cost of what student housing in Calgary or Edmonton is today. So I think there's some immense value, not just in the educational offerings, which are enormous and very locally tailored, but also in saving kids and families money on elements that simply don't have to spend on. So thank you.
And to add to that, Debbie pointed out, we have just over 600 available housing units, but when you've got 3,500 students, there's going to be a lot. And so I have no doubt that there are students at Olds College that live within homes or within rental facilities here too, because the town of Olds can't handle all those and deal with its own housing needs. So I think there is that spillover, that shadow thing that has always been taking place. But I think it shows the importance of us having a good relationship with you folks and you having a good relationship back. And we build understanding, we build a better understanding of needs on both sides.
Well, I'll put in, just one comment. I'll put in a quick plug, I guess, for the town of Didsbury, that this council is very focused on the need in our community for affordable rental housing, which should hopefully help accommodate some of those.
Wonderful.
Years. It's okay. We'll get some built very, very soon. So, Mark?
I want to thank you for your presentation and being here. Didsbury's been my hometown since grade 3, and I think I would be remiss in not saying on behalf of our community for all these years, the one thing that has been a sort of a stabilizing force in our area is Olds College. And to know that they're healthy and growing and willing to admit where they're misdirected and redirect, that just encouraged me to know that they're on top of it and we can keep trusting them. So thank you very much for your role representing now, but from people who have gone on before, to make sure that Olds College is good and healthy. And specifically, I was really happy to see the importance that you're putting on the care of your students, to know that their mental health and their well-being are top priorities for you. To me, that thrills me, because the college isn't anything without the students. And so
100%.
A healthy student body is a healthy college, and I thank you for it, and I look forward to that. Thank you for the bus that you probably need.
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely, me too.
Is there any further? No. Okay.
Thank you.
Well, thank you.
What's coming? We could get a motion.
I'll move that council thank Olds College Chairman Al Kemure and President Debbie Thompson for their presentation and accept it as information.
Excellent. All in favor? Opposed? Motion is carried. Thank you very much. Okay, so that takes us on to item 4.1, which is the adoption of the minutes from the last regular council meeting, although there is one small amendment that needs to be made because there was an error. There's 2 errors. Do you want to let us know what the second one was?
Sure.
Yeah, the first one is resolution 050-26. I believe it was Will that made it, or
We've clarified that, I think.
I think that that's who made it. We had Ethan, or not Ethan, but we had Williams in there, and I believe it was Will that should have been in there. So, and what was the one that you had seen?
Oh, just a minor one, just Councillor Irwin instead of Councillor Mahan on February 12th meeting, which I guess is actually a separate meeting.
Okay. Great. Can we get a motion on the minutes then?
I move that council adopt the minutes as amended.
Excellent. Thank you. All in favor? Opposed? Okay. Motion is carried. Move on to.
Was it the special council meeting one?
Yeah, 4.2.
Make an amendment.
Yeah, which will also need to be amended then, right? Perfect. Yeah, item 4.2, which is the February 12th, 2026 special council meeting minutes, now as amended. So, Will, yep, if you'd like to. Thank you.
I move to adopt the February 12th, 2026 special council meeting minutes as amended.
All in favor? Opposed? Okay, motion is carried. Thank you. Okay, that takes us on to item number 6 on the agenda, which is the CAO report. I'll open up the floor for any debate discussion before we get a motion. Anything on the CAO report? No? Okay. Yeah, if I could get a motion, then that would be great.
No, someone can make the motion. I just wanted to make comment on the snow clearing. I think that our administrative team and everyone that was involved in that, several times I went to go up a street and I met a grader, and I was so excited to see the level at which the snow was removed and the speed in which it was done. And I think we just should have a big shout out for that work. Well done. Thank you.
Oh, I agree. I got a citizen reach out to me on the weekend, and I reached out to the CAO to see if there was going to be some ice removal on 19th from the water main break. And before I could even get a reply, I actually had to pop out to go and run an errand. So I thought I'd just drive down 19th and on my way to the store. And sure enough, there was the backhoe already chipping up ice and clearing people's driveways and doing good work. So I think they did an excellent job. Thanks, Kurt. Appreciate that. Excellent. If we could get a motion for the CAO report then.
I move that council accept the CAO report as information.
Excellent. All in favor? Opposed? Okay, motion is carried. That takes us on to section 7, which is bylaws and policies. We have several land use amending bylaws to go through, so we'll start with 7.1, which is land use amending bylaw 2026-03. Everybody had a chance to review this? You want to open up the floor to comments and questions? Nothing? No? Okay. If I could get a motion on the request for decision then. Troy, did you want to?
I move that council grant first reading to land use amending bylaw 2026-3 and to set Tuesday, March 24th.
It's got to be 2 separate, yep, please. So we'll just on the first motion, maybe just restate it,
Okay.
just so we're clear.
That council grant first reading to land use amending bylaw 2026-03.
Excellent. All in favor? favor of the motion? Opposed? Okay, so carried.
And to set March 24th, 2026 as the public hearing for land use amending bylaw 2026-03.
Excellent. All in favor? Opposed? Motion is carried. Okay, that takes us to item 7.2, land use amending bylaw 2026-04. This is to redesignate properties from DC-IND, direct control district, to industrial I2, industrial district heavy. Furthermore, this bylaw would remove the use of DC-IND from the land use bylaw. Everybody understands that? Okay. Questions or comments around? No? Norm?
I'm making.
Oh, you're ready to make the motion? Okay. Proceed.
Move the council grant first reading to land use amending bylaw 2026-04.
All in favor? Opposed? Okay, motion is carried.
And the second one, motion,
Please.
is to set Tuesday, March the 24th, 2026 as the public hearing for land use amending bylaw 2026-04.
Excellent. All in favor? Opposed? Sorry.
I thought you said 04.
It is 04.
Oh, I got one ahead.
Okay, now we're on.
All right.
I was just making sure you said 04, right? Okay.
Perfect. Now that we've clarified. Item 7.3, land use amending bylaw 2026-05, which is the amendment to the land use bylaw to better reflect the planning principles of the municipal development planning bylaw 2024-12 MDP. These amendments propose changes to the land use bylaw that reinforce the direction to eliminate unnecessary regulatory barriers to development that has already been supported through existing plans and policy. Do we have?
Yeah, I have a question to the chair. Just, I couldn't remember, what was the difference between permitted uses and discretionary uses? Like, what would happen in those, what's the definition?
Thank you, through the chair. So permitted use is, it shall be approved with or without conditions if it conforms to the land use bylaw. Usually this poses little impact on the surrounding areas, like a dwelling, a garage, a shed. Discretionary use, you may approve it, the development authority may approve it if it meets the requirements of the land use bylaw. It's more of a higher impact, like daycares, secondary suites, apartment buildings, that sort of thing.
So then there would be discussion over, if it's permitted, it goes through as long as it meets all the requirements, like there's not much you can do to stop it.
Through the chair, that is correct. So as far as appeal periods, permitted can only be appealed by the applicant if the land use bylaw has been relaxed, varied, or misinterpreted. Discretionary uses can be appealed by anyone that's affected.
Perfect, thank you very much.
Does that resolve your concern?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Any other questions or comments on the proposed change?
On the Schedule A, C1 Commercial District General, I'm just questioning the maximum building height of being 10 meters, which is 32.81 feet. Especially when it comes to the permitted uses of shopping center or hotel, motel. And I wonder if there's a rationale behind that. 10 is a nice number, but is it realistic for those kind of applications?
It's sort of a general question, so I'll spare you and I'll give the general answer. Sometimes you got to pick a number and you got to start somewhere. As a rule of thumb, we try not to go too far above what a ladder truck would reach in an urban setting. But I know that we have some 4-story buildings here in town that the ladder truck, I don't know if it reaches that high. But you can work with the developer on building code and fire code requirements for that extra story. It is also, I'm being told that some of these amendments stack, and that's a carryover from the last C1 zone that we had. But like in a general sense, Councillor Quants, if there was a situation where somebody wanted to come in and put a 2-story shopping center in, we would amend the land use bylaw for that height requirement for them, if that was something they proposed. But just to kind of pick a benchmark, I think it was 10 meters, you said? Yeah, or 30 feet. And how many feet per story, roughly? We figured that's on average. Most places are seeing developments that don't go beyond 2 stories unless you're in a substantively higher, I guess, type of development commercially or industrially. And in most cases, homes aren't going beyond 2 stories. So it's just kind of an arbitrary number for now that we think is safe to use, that most developments would fall within. Should there be an exceptional application that would come through, as I mean, we have seen a few times already, a developer wants to come and do something that's not quite where the bylaw fits, it can be adjusted so long as it fits with the character of the surrounding area of the development. I think that'd be something that would come to council for discussion if it was direct control, or it would be something that the development officer, Leanne, would review in the context of the bylaw, the surrounding area, the type of development, the type of use that it's going to undertake, and the kind of development impacts that are going to be, I guess, foisted upon to the residents nearby, right? So increased traffic, increased crime, noise, dust, increased risk environmentally for things. Those will be kind of triggers that might see us either impose different conditions in the development agreement with the developer, or make an amendment to the land use bylaw to allow for something greater in scope and stature than the bylaw permits, but we could tweak those rules to make it fit so that we can bring that investment into town. Does that satisfy your curiosity, sir?
Just with one added comment, I appreciate that. And that is sometimes when we pick a number, that is an expectation that is revolving around that. And anything different than that looks like it's so out of place, and it can't be, and so it raises more protests and whatever if somebody does try and get a little bit more. And so maybe next time the LUB is looked into or reviewed, we might want to, check that number again and see whether we should be adjusting it. And my suggestion is likely up a little bit. So,
You want to go higher?
Well,
I mean, there's always the subject of a variance request, which can go to NPC and stuff, but we're getting into some technical stuff that maybe, Leanne, did you want to throw 2 cents in before the mayor goes, or?
Through the chair, thank you. So if council would like it to go higher, the C3 district in the core is 12.5 meters. So that's about 42 feet, I believe. So it is a little bit higher down there, so if that helps at all.
I think the only time we sort of run into this is we did find somebody that wanted to build a hotel here. Say that would probably be definitely over the 10-meter mark if we were going to get a 3- or 4-story hotel, right? Fingers crossed.
Yeah, which we have possible developments, right?
So, but again, that could be a one-off variance for something like that, right? So, okay. Any other questions, comments? No?
Thanks.
Okay. If we could get a motion for this then. Kurt?
I move that council grant first reading to land use amending bylaw 2026 wait for it, 05.
Thanks, Kurt. All in favor? Opposed?
You can't vote twice.
I know you have 2 hands, but you can only vote once.
I
Okay.
think about the next part.
Motion is carried. Thank you.
And to set Tuesday, March 24th, 2026 as the public hearing for land use amending bylaw 2026-05.
All in favor? Opposed? Good job. Motion is carried. Okay, that takes us to item 7.4 on the agenda, which is land use amending bylaw 2026-06, which is to redesignate 1000 Chance Drive, Chance Drive, I apologize for that, from the current R5 residential district, high density, to the newly established RC2 residential/commercial district, high density. Open the floor for discussion and debate on Sean's Drive? No, nothing? Yeah. Okay. If I could get a motion, please. Oh, sorry.
Just a comment that this is one of those scenarios where the change in zoning is industry demand driven.
Thank you. Yeah, make a motion.
Move the council grant first reading to land use amending bylaw 2026-06.
Thank you. All in favor?
One vote.
Opposed? Motion is carried.
And to set Tuesday, March the 24th, 2026 as the public hearing for land use amending bylaw 2026-06.
Thank you. All in favor? Opposed? Okay, motion is carried. Okay, that takes us to item 7.5, land use amending bylaw 2026-07, which is the proposal to redesignate properties that contain development and some undeveloped area from the current C2 commercial district to highway to C1 commercial district general. I'll open up the floor before we get a motion to see if there's any comments or questions. Doesn't appear so, so I'll ask for a motion.
I move the council grant first reading to land use amending bylaw 2026-07.
All in favor? Opposed? Motion is carried.
And I'll move to set Tuesday, March 24th, 2026 as the public hearing for land use amending bylaw 2026-07.
All in favor? Opposed? Motion is carried as well. Okay, that takes us to item 7.6 on the agenda. FIN 008-26, year-end reserve allocation policy. Has everybody reviewed this, understands what we're going to discuss? Okay, I'll open up the floor to debate and questions, if there is any. No? Okay. If I could ask some motions then, please. Sure. Yeah. Norman, go ahead.
I move council to rescind FIN 008-22 year-end reserve allocation.
Okay. All in favor of the motion? Opposed? Motion is carried.
And to approve FIN 008-26 year-end reserve allocation as presented.
Okay. All in favor? Opposed? Motion is carried as well. Thank you. And the last item in the section, 7.7, is to rescind Human 003, the student scholarship policy. Did everybody have a chance to read this? Okay. Is there any questions around it? Seems pretty straightforward, I think. Yep.
Just more for clarification than anything to make sure I am understanding it properly. This was something that, as I recall, the grant terminated in 2019 and the funding decreased, and we've still been able to manage staffing without any issue with this. And this is really just removing something that already isn't being used anymore. Is that correct?
Through the chair, that's correct. The program hasn't been used since 2019, I believe. This is more of a cleanup item to get the policy off the books, as we no longer use that sort of program.
I'll just, for this and several other policies, I'll just make a quick comment to just say thank you to administration for digging through countless policies ad nauseum to make sure that things are cleaned up and make sense. Thank you.
questions or comments? Do you want to put forward the motion then?
I move that council rescind Human 003-student scholarship policy.
Thank you. All in favor? Opposed? Motion is carried. Thank you. Okay, that takes us on to section 8, which is business. Item 8.1 being the first, cancellation of the augmented reality project. This was a project that was started back in 2024 with about $60,000 in funding. Well, there was 3 parts to it, I guess. Correct me if I'm mischaracterizing this. There was the augmented reality project, there was the image and video library project, and then there was the business resource pamphlet project. Those last 2 projects went ahead and were completed, and the funds were used for those. But the funds for the augmented augmented reality project, $45,000 were not used. Okay. All right.
Yeah, that's correct.
Excellent. Okay. Any comments or questions around that, councilors? No? Okay. If we could get a motion then, I guess.
I move to cancel the 2024 augmented reality project.
Thank you. All in favor? Opposed? Okay. Motion is carried. Thank you. Item 8.2 is the cancellation of GIS and asset management software project. You want to ask the CEO to maybe elaborate on this a little bit?
We hired a human instead, and it's working much better.
Craig, tell me if there's a better way to say it.
There's certainly not a more succinct way of saying it, so I'll leave it there.
It was going to be software-based. We wound up creating a full-time position. Sarah Claremont is working for the town now full-time and creating all of our asset inventories and things that are going to be foundational pieces to our asset management policies, and et cetera, et cetera. We don't need the open motion for the software at this time because we have a person doing it instead. So housekeeping, getting it off our books for Amanda's purposes.
And would it be fair for me to assume that the $110,000 that was budgeted for this and the other $45,000 that we just discussed will be part of a larger discussion around the reserve funds that were mentioned earlier in the meeting?
So just a bit of a clarification. The funds for the augmented reality project, they are already reserved.
It's already
Yeah,
put into reserve.
so since nothing's been spent, it's just staying in the reserve. So council could perhaps use those funds for some other project in the future, but right now it's in the economic development reserve.
Okay.
That's the augmented reality project. So this GIS and asset management was planned to be funded $60,000 from our strategic initiative reserve and $50,000 from the CCDF grant. Later, we found out that the software is actually not eligible to be part of the CCDF program. So those $50,000 stays in that fund, and they can be used for anything else that CCDF covers, like roads, and most capital projects can be funded from that. So that stays and is available, and then the $60,000 that was going to come from the town's contingency reserve is in the reserve still.
It just remains there.
And you can, now it's freed it up to either allocate to something else or keep it as in that contingency function.
Great, thank you for clarifying, appreciate it. Any other questions around this? No? Okay, if I could get a motion for this then, that'd be great.
I move to amend the 2025 capital budget to cancel the GIS and asset management software project.
Thank you. All in favor? Opposed? Okay, motion is carried. That takes us to the final one in this section, which is 8.3, Direct Control District DP 26-004, Dwelling Unit, Occupancy of Owner, Operator, or Caretaker, which I think we should all probably be fairly familiar with because we just discussed this a couple of times recently. So we've got a couple of applications. Is there any comments, questions, concerns around this?
Just a question that this is now applying with the new zoning, correct?
Through the chair, no. So the new zoning just received first reading tonight, so it won't be approved until it gets third and final reading on March 24th. So this particular development is still under the DC IND district.
So will this be a problem with the new zoning? Just wondering.
Through the chair, no, it will not, because the new zoning that we're proposing is to change this district to I2 industrial heavy. And last public hearing, we asked that this use be put into the DC districts and the I2 industrial heavy. So it will be allowed there as well.
So it won't wind up legal non-conforming. Okay, thank you. All right. Excellent. Any other questions? Motion then, please.
I move that council approve DP 26-004 for a dwelling unit occupancy of owner, operator, or caretaker located at Bay 1 and Bay 5A, 2825 19th Street, subject to the proposed conditions 1 through 4.
All in favor? Opposed? Motion is carried. I was going to make you read all of those, Kurt, but all right. That takes us to item 9, which is council reports. There aren't really any reports, although there was one letter that we received from the library.
Yeah, this was their letter of request
Thank you.
that accompanies the draft letter that you provided. Just let me get that to you, sorry.
No, that's fine. I hadn't seen it before. They were asking essentially for council to write a letter of support to secure some funding for Comic-Con, their Comic-Con event that they do. So I think we just need to have a quick vote from council that we're okay with providing that letter of support. So maybe, Will, if you wanted to give me a motion on that, that would be great. Thank you.
I don't have a motion written, so I will fly by the seat of my pants, and I will say I motion that council provide a letter of support to the Didsbury Library and Mountain View County Comic-Con event.
Okay. All in favor? Opposed? Norm, did I see him in favor?
I put it up.
You must have been quick. I missed it. Sorry.
It's behind his head.
Oh, there.
We'll use your right hand.
My apologies.
It is
Okay. Motion is carried.
This is a long hand.
Excellent. If I could also get a motion for the council reports. Thank you.
Yep. Move to accept the February 24th, 2026 council reports as information.
All in favor? Opposed? Motion is carried. Okay. That takes us to correspondence and information, which we have one letter. Everybody's had a chance to review it from Pam's. If we just get a motion for the correspondence, that would be great. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Sorry, that's my bad.
No, it's fine. Rather than just accepting it as information, I looked into PAMS a little bit more by going on the website, et cetera, et cetera. And I guess I'm not in favor at this point in time, anyhow, of paying out $1,797 and change to become a member. First of all, I think that there are requirements and responsibilities that I expect from the government to supply information concerning air quality. And the other thing is the last update to their website of activity was 2019, I think, if I'm not mistaken. And so I would need to really understand how Didsbury could benefit from that much more before I would be in support of membership and payment of that.
I tend to agree. Councillor Kwan. Yep. Okay. If I could get a motion to accept the correspondence, that would be great. Thank you.
Sure. To accept the correspondence for February 24th, 2026 as information.
All in favor? Sorry. Opposed? Motion is carried. Okay, that takes us to item number 11 on the agenda, which is question period. Did we have anyone in the gallery that wanted to speak tonight? No? Okay. All right. Keep on moving. That takes us to item 12, which is our closed meeting. So I'll ask for a motion.
I move that council go to close
At 7:01.
at 7:01.
All in favor? Opposed? Motion is carried. Opposed? Motion's carried. That takes us to the motions that we need, which are 3.
So, do you have them in order, Joss?
Yeah.
Okay.
To proceed with a Family Resource Network grant application to provide Mountain View Family Resource Network services for the region for the next grant funding term.
All in favor?
I'll make the motion. I'll make it.
Will was making that motion.
Do you need me to read it again? Okay, I'll make that motion.
Thank you. All in favor? Opposed? Motion's carried. Next.
Okay, and to approve the sale of a 2.94 acre portion of 100 Chance Drive as presented, subject to the terms and conditions set out in the offer to purchase.
Yes, I'll make that.
All in favor? Opposed? Motion is carried. And then lastly, here I can make this one. Get to it. To hire Gaucho host Jillian Grant for $2,500 to plan a public event to coincide with the rodeo weekend in Didsbury in August, with final approval for funding the event to be determined by council once a detailed proposal has been provided by Gaucho host's Jillian Grant to council. All in favor? Opposed? Motion is carried. Okay. That rounds out those 3. So,
As the Ukrainian culture likes to say, Chikaya, well, if you're going to do the hiring of Jillian, could we get a motion to appoint, to strike a subcommittee or an ad hoc committee of council
fair.
tonight? And then it was going to be yourself, Mayor Little, and Will, and Erwin to work with Jillian. And then now...
And some members from the Ag Society. And
yeah, so do
probably
you want
be a committee of 5 or 6.
Okay, do you want to outline which groups you're taking a member from? Ag Society?
It would just be the Ag Society for now.
Okay. 1 or 2 members from the Ag Society do you think would be sufficient?
2.
2 it is. Maintain the majority, that's good. It's your event anyway. So a motion then would be required to appoint Mayor Little, Councillor Stevens, and Councillor Mahone.
I'll make that motion.
And to strike in that committee language to that effect.
In PKE or
Okay. All in favor of the motion? Opposed? Motion is also carried. If there's nothing further, then I just need one final motion.
I move to adjourn the meeting at 8:53 p.m.
All in favor? Opposed?